Welcome back to my show, Story Time with Prashanti Vaishnavi. Recently, by chance, I came across a Thevaram hymn, Pitha Pirai Soodi, composed and sung by Sundararamoorthy Nayanar, one of the 63 Nayanmar saints. He is considered as a friend of Lord Shiva, and his life story teaches us a very interesting and important lesson, that is, the necessity to balance one's current materialistic life and the spiritual pursuits. His life and his hymns in the Thevaram are broadly grouped in four stages. In the first stage, his marriage will get stopped by Lord Shiva, who came in the form of an old man, and he claims that Sundara is his slave. Sundara, initially shocked and broken, later realizes that the old man was none other than Lord Shiva himself, and hence he decides to cancel his marriage and becomes a Shiva devotee, and he spends his life singing about the Lord. In the second stage of his life, he meets two women, Paravai and Kaingali, and he wishes to marry them. Lord Shiva, who is his friend by now, helps Sundara to marry these women. In the third stage of his life, due to Sundara's worldly attachment and breaking of his promise to his second wife, he loses his eyesight. Although he regains his eyesight after some time because of God's grace, this experience leaves him highly traumatized. He starts dwelling on the meaning and importance of worldly attachments, how to balance materialistic, worldly pleasure, wealth, etc., and one's spiritual pursuits. This forms the fourth stage of his life.
In fact, Sundarar even asks Lord Shiva, his friend, why he didn't warn him or convince him about the consequences of his action. That is, that he would lose his eyesight if he didn't keep up his promise, etc. And why Shiva just stood and watched him make mistakes. He wondered what kind of friend does that. And this question Sundarar asked Lord Shiva.
Having been brought up in a very orthodox Iyengar family, since early childhood, I was very well versed with the theoretical knowledge about stories from Bhagavatam, 108 Divyadesam temples, the Sthala Puranams, and about the 12 Alvars, etc. Still, I fluctuated between being an agnostic and God loving person. Sometimes I have felt like I am Batman, that is altering between my two alter egos, fun loving, simple Bruce Wayne, and the serious crime fighting Batman. Anyway, coming back, I'm sure many of us would have experienced these conflicting emotions at some stage in our lives. I have questioned the existence of God on multiple occasions, especially when my demands and expectations were not met or whenever I was at the crossroads. I would ask God to choose or decide for me by placing chits in front of me, and the results seemingly ended up in the path I didn't like. This made me so angry for trusting God blindly and for seemingly leading down to a wrong path. My husband, although not very well versed in the texts or theories or in spiritual context, he is an extremely grounded, God loving, and a person with lot of clarity in life, which I feel I lacked in spite of all this spiritual knowledge. This made me realize that just knowledge is not at all enough, and one needs wisdom, which is usually gained by experience. Our life's experiences are the ones that enrich us and teaches us various lessons. I am reminded of my husband's words which he said few years back. He said, "Your life is like a tapestry. You look at one side and see all the disconnected and loose ends and say, what a mess my life is. However, I see the finished product on the other side and says, how beautiful you have become." I used to very much feel the same way about life in general. I couldn't see any coherence between various aspects, and I always used to wonder about the larger purpose of the seemingly unconnected dots or events. Like, why do I change jobs often? Why don't I get along with anyone? Etc. I was more interested in short term gains and immediate results. I considered God as my friend, however, it appeared he didn't consider me as his friend because I felt he never satisfied any of my wishes. Coming back to the story of Sundaramurthy Nayanar, listening or reading through his story, it helped me a bit in changing my confused perspective about life in general, God, and spirituality. In the fourth or the last stage of his life, in those hymns, he has stated the importance of first navigating through this materialistic life by having enriching life experiences of doing one's duty, finding a purpose, and undergoing or experiencing materialistic worldly pleasures, all of which will ultimately lead to bliss and fulfillment, which we call as moksha. His story also teaches us the difference between destiny and free will. All these words are still beyond human comprehension and will take ages for a person to gain wisdom and clarity to understand and implement the same in one's life, which is most important. While I sing this song, Pitha Pirai Soodi, on this auspicious Maha Shivaratri day, I pray to Lord Shiva to bless us with wisdom, ability to have trust in the process, and to guide us in this journey always, and to hold my hands always, forever.
பித்தா பிறை சூடி பெருமானே அருளாளா எத்தான் மறவாதே நினைக்கின்றேன் மனதுன்னை வைத்தாய் பெண்ணை தென்பால் வெண்ணை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் அத்தா உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே நாயேன் பல நாளும் நினைப்பின்றி மனதுன்னை பேயாய் திரிந்தெய்தேன் பெறலாக அருள் பெற்றேன் பேயார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் ஆயா உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே மண்ணே மறவாதே நினைக்கின்றேன் மனதுன்னை பொன்னே மணிதானே வைரம்மே பொருதுந்தி மின்னார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் அன்னே உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே முடியேன் இனி பிறவேன் பெறன் மூவேன் பெற்ற மூர்த்தி கொடியேன் பல பொய்யே உரைப்பேனை குறிக்கொள்ளி செடியார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் அடிகேள் உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே பாதம் பணிவார்கள் பெரும் பண்டம் அது பணியாய் ஆதன் பொருளானேன் அறிவில்லேன் அருளாளா தாதார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் ஆதி உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே தன்னார் மதிசூடி தழல் போலும் திருமேனி எண்ணார் புறமூன்றும் எரி உண்ண நகை செய்தாய் மன்னார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் அண்ணா உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே ஊனாய் உயிரானாய் உடலானாய் உலகானாய் வானாய் நிலனானாய் கடலானாய் மலையானாய் தேனார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் ஆனாய் உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே ஏற்றார் புறமூன்றும் எரியுண்ண சிலை தொட்டாய் தேற்றாதன சொல்லி திரிவேனோ சக்கர்வாணீர் ஏற்றாய் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் ஆற்றாய் உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே மழுவான் வலன் ஏந்தி மறை ஓதி மங்கை பங்கா தொழுவார் அவர் துயிராயின தீர்த்தல் உனதொழிலே செழுவார் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் அழகா உனக்காளாயினி அல்லேன் எனலாமே காரூர் புனலெய்தி கரை கல்லி திரை கையால் பாரூர் புகழெய்தி திகழ் மண்மாமணி உந்தீர் சீரூர் பெணை தென்பால் வெனை நல்லூர் அருற்றுறையுள் ஆரூர் என பெருமாள் காள் அல்லேன் எனலாமே